Hello everyone, I'm Kit Carson here in front of Angelina's Pizza. And as you know, I talk to the rock stars, the heroes, and the gods. And tonight is no exception. I got this fine young man here with me. Let's find out who he is. What's going on, brother?
Everybody wants to sit with Kit.
Well, this is King Puro,
King Poodle?
and I was walking by,
Yes, you were.
seeing this, luxurious pizza place that I come to all the time.
Yeah.
Fresh out here in Key West, and I would really like to see how we can make Key West better.
How long have you been here?
Roughly a year.
About a year?
About a year.
And you're from where? West Palm?
West Palm Beach.
So what do you do? What's your thing?
Well, okay, we'll start with I'm a master mason. I work at the Navy base here at Trumbull Point.
Okay.
That's how I got down here.
Got it.
I've been doing music for over 20 years.
Okay.
And I'm just not really trying to put myself out there,
So, are you a songwriter? Are you a DJ?
No, I'm a songwriter.
Producer?
I play the guitar.
Okay.
I write music. I do hip hop, but I can really fall into any genre because I'm a big Beatle fan. So I start from there. Chuck Berry, 80s. I mean, I could go through all that.
Wow.
But I haven't found my niche because I can do all kinds of music yet.
Yep.
So I'm starting an album now. I got 3 tracks ready to come out, but I'm not ready to release them yet. So I'm just getting going,
And you're recording everything on it?
Yeah, everything. I do. The only thing I don't do out of the 3 songs is the actual beat, but the lyrics, the whole setup of everything I do.
Right.
And I play the guitar. Some of the songs I have ready to also get onto I want 10 tracks.
Okay.
Before anything gets released.
So your inspiration comes from
Life experience.
Life experience.
Mainly.
You are a music lover.
I love music, man. All genres. All genres.
What will this album? What flavor will it have? Will it?
All right. Well, just to put it out there to the public, it's gonna be called Everything I Have. That's gonna be the album from King Puro, KINGPURO, and I'm trying to put every little aspect of my last 20 years. Because when I started doing music, I really didn't feel like I had enough content or enough to put out into music writing. Now, 20 years later, I'm in a different stage now. A lot of things have happened in my life.
Yeah.
So
20 years.
I have a lot more material to put down in songs.
Right.
It helps me more when I get in the studio, to put things out. So that's mainly my main goal right now is that.
That's pretty awesome. I wished I was that creative. That's huge.
Well, you did pretty good with starting a pizza place and putting
that was just sweat equity. It's like, hey, let's do something and make some money.
Well, for the public out there, it takes work.
It does.
It takes work to
It all
accomplish what
does.
you want.
Well, everybody say I talk to the rock stars, the heroes, and the gods. Everybody thinks being a rock star is easy, but I know a few, and it's not easy. It's pretty tough.
Well, look, I've met artists before they were artists. I met T-Pain, and I drove his family around before he was even famous.
Yeah.
I know the people who take care of Cardi B. I know a lot of people that are in the industry, but like I said, I had to raise kids.
Yeah.
Now that I'm ready to be in the music full time,
right.
It's full force.
But it's
every day.
It's 90%. It's a hard work on a different level. It's 1% performing and living like a rock star.
Absolutely.
But it's a lot of hours of.
That's what people don't understand. Like the luxurious life that these artists live is the outcome of all the hard work they put in. You could be an artist in your house, in your closet, recording in a little bootleg studio, and nobody will ever hear from you for a long time.
Right.
Until they do, then all of a sudden, all your hard work, all your behind the scenes that nobody ever saw will come to play.
And that's what you want to do. And there's a lot of you out there, and it's such a small percentage of people that actually make it.
You know how they have the 1% in America of the rich people? Well, it's the 1% of people that put in the super hard work that become famous.
Right, and that's not to say that there's not 70% of them aren't making a living, because a lot of those guys, they make a living. They're doing it all the time, and they're making a living. But that rock star lifestyle.
It's really, it comes down to the sacrifice.
It does.
What are you willing to sacrifice? Because a lot of these guys, I know a lot of DJs, techno DJs. I know guys that have been in the industry for a while, from De La Soul, shout out to Double A, Aaron, Chico Deluxe, Chico Deluxe, Aaron from New York and all that. you know, at the end of the day, if you really want something, there's nothing that can stop you.
Right.
And the moment you decide I'm going to do this and nothing going to stop me, the universe somehow gives you all the opportunities and you get it done.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But it takes up your actions, though.
But you've been around it long enough to see. You've seen the ones that thought they were rock stars right out of the gate.
Absolutely.
And thought they were going to. Like, I'll be the next big whoever.
Oh, yeah.
And they just can't make it.
You know what? I've seen them. I've seen these guys that I thought, oh, man, you're going to be the next superstar. You're going to be the next man. But you know what? Didn't let them go further. They didn't believe in themselves. They were telling me that they were going to be the best ones, but they didn't believe in themselves.
They weren't willing to put in the hard work.
That's all it takes.
They wanted someone else to do it for them, and that just doesn't.
It's like everything else. Blood, sweat, and tears will let you become what you want to become.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, absolutely. Like this place, like I come here all the time to eat my pizza. I go through all these bars. My little routine is walk through, get my little drink and something to eat, and then I'll go home. Cause trust me, Duval is the place. You know what I mean? Duval is the place.
It's a whole different animal down here.
It's a whole different animal out here, man. And the only thing I love is that once you step away from Duval, Key West is quiet.
It is.
Real quiet, you know?
Well, you know, one of the things I felt, and this is totally off, but it's on subject. One of the things I fell in love with this town was bartending here and getting off work at 4 in the morning. And I'd ride my scooter home, and I lived halfway across the island. And it was like you smell all the smells, and you go by the bakery and the fresh Cuban bread's baking, and the night blooming jasmine, and it's just it's so freaking.
I'm like
awesome.
I'm literally walking distance from here. I live right there off of Georgia.
Yeah.
And I go to my little Cuban cafe every morning. Everything's real local here. Now, when I want to party and have fun, I go to Duval. I see, you know, it's why I found you guys, and I'm glad I found you guys. You know, congratulations on being here since 1988, man.
Yeah.
You know, it takes a lot to run a business.
It does.
Especially out here in Key West. You know, the good thing about here, what I love about Key West is that every day you get a new wave of people.
Yeah, every week, just about. I mean, and you know, I'll see people 3 or 4 times in a week, and I'm like, do I know them? And then I'll go up and talk to them, and they go, oh, we just got here on Tuesday, but we've eaten here 3 times.
Right.
Like, well, today's Thursday, thanks.
Absolutely. There's a lot of familiar faces and stuff, but I've done the same mistake.
Yeah.
I go up to them, hey, man, wasn't that with you in the club the other day? And like, no, he speaks German. You know, things like that.
Well, I was in Germany last year. Maybe that's what it was. You know? But it's so true. But that's part of the island lifestyle, you know. We just...
You know, what we have here in Key West, which I've been here a year. I don't want to call myself a local because I've only been here a year. But what I love about here is that, like, it differentiates every other place that has a beach and a bar.
Yeah.
Key West separates all the other places.
Yeah.
You know, from having a beach and a bar like California, New York got Coney Island. That's about it. You know, up there. Down here, West Palm Beach, you know, it's simple. In Key West, it's a whole different world.
It is a whole different world.
Absolutely.
You know, it's amazing at how we managed to stay kind of
with the trends
while still being innocent.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the hard part.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't have all the hustle that they have in, you know, like Bourbon Street or Coney Island.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
That's what I love about here, man.
Yep.
You can stay here till 2, 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yep.
You go home, it's quiet.
Yep.
You know, I live, you know, other city places. The noise follows you. You know what I'm saying? The noise follows you. It's not escaping the noise. You know, I lived in New York. I lived in Miami. I lived West Palm Beach. I was born in Nicaragua, Central America.
So,
came here in 1992 to Miami right by the Orange Bowl before they tore it down.
Yeah,
you know, in 1992. Then I went to West Palm in '94. Did my whole life, you know, married, kids, all that, white picket fence, all that fell out, and then I ended up landing a good job at the naval base here.
Yep.
Which I've been a subcontractor for a long time, but music has always been my thing.
That's
music
your
has
passion.
never left me. That's my passion, you know.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Music, if you're not making money from music, it doesn't pay your bills. So you have to have something to, you know, back up on.
Yeah.
You know. So
I mean, and you know this. You've met 1,000 starving artists.
Yes.
No matter what genre they're in.
Absolutely.
Every waiter in LA is an actor.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's such a hard gig.
It's you know what it is? It's hard to create a following because if depending on your age and depending on the group of people you're trying to connect to, that's how you create your following.
But don't you think now with the technology of you being able to record in your house and being able to put it on the internet, don't you think it's a little bit easier now? Or is it?
I agree. It's easier to put out content.
But there's so much competition now.
That's the point right there.
Yeah.
It's way easier for me to sit.
Yeah.
And that people, I know many people with makeshift studios.
Yeah.
They sound really good.
Oh yeah.
And I'm a perfectionist, so I just tell them, hey, maybe you should do this, you should do that, and it can make you can be better than that guy that you sound like, because everybody starts off sounding like somebody.
Right.
I come out, I try to sound like nobody that's ever been out there.
That's the hard thing.
That's the hard thing, because think about it. The Beatles used to cover songs.
Right.
So you think about that, it hasn't changed much.
Well, I think when you tell that kind of reminds me. You remember the band Boston?
Yeah.
They did a basement album, and he was a perfectionist, and it was a sound that we'd never really heard.
Right.
It was rock and roll, but it was just so different. First time I heard him, I'm like, what the hell is that?
And they wouldn't get the following that like the Stones or Billy Joel in the 80s, or all the rock bands in the 80s. It was hard. It's hard. It's still hard.
Yeah, it is.
That's what I'm saying. Creating a following.
It is hard.
To where everybody can, like, if you can put a song out on the radio that every single person, whether it's a country person or a rock and roll person or a hip hop person, can listen to. If you can put out music like that, you're golden.
Right.
That's what I call timeless music.
Right.
Like Michael Jackson could put a song out, and it doesn't matter what kind of music you like, he's gonna love it. The Beatles. I don't care what anybody says. You put on a Beatles track, people that have never heard about the Beatles will still listen to it. I call that
their body will
music.
respond.
If you put your efforts to create something that nobody's ever heard that everybody likes, that's what I call a true artist that makes timeless music.
Yep.
And that's the hardest part.
But it seems like that is almost the magic of any song that makes it. If it makes it now, it almost
it will last forever.
Almost most of the time it does. I mean, there's some flash in the pan songs that you hear once or twice, and then 10 years later you go, oh, I hadn't heard that ever.
One-hit wonders that we still love, to this day.
Yeah.
So you could be a one-hit wonder because you gave up after you did a great song.
But the ones that keep hitting the radio, that hits the airwaves every year, that song.
Paul McCartney pulled out a song with Kanye West not too long ago. At the end of one of his songs, Paul McCartney was playing the guitar at the end of one of his songs. Okay. That's a hip-hop star nowadays. Right. How did they connect?
Right.
They connected because his genre of Kanye West was at that point really high. That guy has done it all.
Yeah.
How can you make things more exciting? Put Paul McCartney on one of your songs. It's like, and that's like that. But you have to have that kind of following. And
not that I don't like you, but I wish Paul McCartney would come let me interview him.
Oh man, I tell you what, I'm a big Beatle fan. The day I meet one of the Beatles before they die,
you and my wife.
They're in the 80s, I would love it.
My wife is a huge Beatles fan.
Yeah,
huge. And we got to see Paul McCartney in Miami.
Oh, isn't it John Lennon's birthday today? I think John Lennon's birthday's today.
Is it?
Yeah, John Lennon's birthday's today, the 9th of October, I believe. Yeah.
Oh, that was yesterday.
Yesterday, yeah.
So we saw Paul McCartney on like John Lennon's birthday in Miami about 5 or 6 years ago.
Nice.
And it was an absolutely fantastic show.
And everybody was going ballistic.
Awesome, And he was great, And I loved Wings.
Yeah. Well,
I loved Wings.
I didn't think. Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you about the Beatles. John Lennon's my favorite. To me, Paul McCartney was the one that went out of the box.
Yeah.
To create something that was beyond. John didn't give a damn. John would say, "This is what I like. This is what sounds good," and his songs are great. Right. But Paul McCartney was the one. So when he got with Wings, I believe that he tried to completely separate himself from the Beatles and create a sound. Yeah, exactly.
Different sound.
Exactly.
And he did. I was kind of a little more of a George Harrison fan. I thought he was kind of the unsung hero of the group. I thought he was my favorite. But
I felt like he was shadowed a little bit.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to be behind the shadows of John Lennon and Paul McCartney.
Yeah.
I mean, how could you follow those acts?
If he'd been in any other band, would he have been like way more famous? I mean,
I believe
he was
so.
famous, but
I believe so. I believe that if the way that the story played out, they would have went on their own ways. I believe that George would have had his thing going. But if you look at what George did, after the Beatles, I mean, I love some of his stuff, man.
It had so much success. They really, they had the money. They had, I mean, he was doing his guru thing, and
put it like this: back when they were in the early days, Paul and John were the rhythm guys, and Paul was the real guy that knew it all. He knew how to read music and all that. So George was the one that could put the licks in the music. So all the old school stuff, George is the one that put the little touch in him.
Right.
So he had the ear and the artistry already to begin with. You know what I'm saying? So you can never take away what George brought to the table when it came to the Beatles.
He was probably
my
favorite.
And if you think about it, and even in today's genre of music, for all the pop stars, from Ed Sheeran to all the people who do music nowadays, they all take samples from the Beatles. They all take everything. They're just doing their own version of things and all that. You know, you can play every single song you ever heard with 4 chords.
Yeah.
So I mean, in reality, the originality, the authenticity of the Beatles, no one can ever match.
I think Bill Withers might be the next most sampled guy.
And
every hip hop.
And Al Green.
Yeah, Al Green.
You know, but it depends on whether the guy was writing his own songs,
right,
or he was having or his voice was just good enough to write. You know what I'm saying? Like you put James Brown, all the genres of hip hop and techno music and all that, they were sampling all his beats that he created himself by ear.
Yeah.
With his band. No one realizes that.
He was a bad motherfucker.
Beast, bro. He was a beast, bro.
I mean,
to this day, I still...
Most impeccable timing of any musician ever.
Look, I don't judge any musician for their personal life. I just listen to their artistry.
Yeah.
Because
he was one bad.
You know, what if you were a guy that drink beer with James Brown, and you're gonna blame him because his wife?
Hell no.
No. Whatever.
No.
So you can be on
listen,
that.
a lot of people aren't old enough, or they're too old to realize that everything is done in a time frame, and then that's here and now. And what was here and now in 20 years will be old-fashioned.
Right.
But what he was singing about and the trifles and troubles he was going through was real at the time, and it was a different world back then.
Right.
You know, he's saying the song, "It's a world, it's a man's world." You know,
it's a man's world,
and it was.
That went back. That to me that my analogy of his song was. My analogy of his song, "This Is a Man's World," was him kind of screaming out. Like, even though he said a man made this, a man made that, a man made that, a man doesn't get that kind of recognition.
No.
So it's a man's world, but nobody knows it.
No.
And nobody knows it because a man's always subjected to give to the woman or to take care of his kids. So a man's in the shadows.
He's too busy to accept.
The most shining stars are always in the shadows.
Yeah.
Always in the shadows, you know.
Say that one more time.
I said the most famous and more brightful men
stars
are sitting in the shadows.
And sitting in the shadows.
You know,
the most shining stars are sitting in the shadows.
You know?
That's an interesting line.
It's metaphor. It's a metaphor to it that you can take for yourself.
But it's so true.
You know,
always that unsung hero. You know, it's that guy in the corner over there that's keeping that bass.
Well, look at like Neil Young, right? Neil Young, to me is a great songwriter and guitarist. He was underrated. Underrated, Neil Young, but he couldn't compete with that genre of music at that time. And listen, I'm 40 years old, but I love music, so I know music from the 50s. I know music from the 50s up to the 90s and all that. And to me, Neil Young was underrated because he didn't get to speak out like the other people who were overshadowing him. You know, you had Leonard Skinner at the time calling him out, saying, "Hey, we don't need no Southern. You know, Southern man doesn't need you."
Well, but that's because he did speak out. I don't know if he got his word out.
Put it like this,
and that was kind of his thing.
He kept it safe because it's better for an artist to not speak instead of putting your foot in your mouth. You had Leonard
I feel
Skinner.
like he did that a lot.
Yeah, well, listen to his music writing.
Yeah,
it's like somebody just kind of speaking from the background, kind of you know, giving you his story as a third party person, you know.
But he's got out there in front like years ago for the farmers and stuff, and
Neil Young
he's always been an activist.
He's an activist, always an activist, always been an activist. And I love some of his music. I play some of his music. I play the guitar too, and I compose music with piano.
I think I see your point that even though he was an activist, his music often was very sublime about how he went about it.
Well, I'm mainly generalizing the fact that at his time, when he was actually out there, when I'm talking about young Neil Young, long hair Neil Young, fresh out. He couldn't compete with Leonard Skinner, with Jimi Hendrix at that time. He couldn't compete with them. But his music stood out.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? I've seen it 1,000 times. 69, festival. To me, those were the best performances ever from the rock era, from Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, Carlos Santana. You know, all those people, those were to me the most epic performances you'll ever get from those artists, no matter what music they put out, because at that point, that was a movement that no one will ever live again. You would not live
No.
that again. You know, I don't know.
If we do it, it'll be
how old are
different.
you? When were you born?
I'm 62.
Oh, okay. So you were a young kid. If you were born at for 16.
Right. Yeah, I remember. I remember the hippie movement. I was living it.
So that's a timeless moment
Yeah.
that
No.
you'll never relive.
I was.
You know.
I remember a lot more than just because I was in California and I was traveling a lot. I was traveling 68,
Look,
69.
I think,
70.
to be honest with you, I think I probably OD sometimes in the 60s and reincarnated in the 80s. And you know, that's why I'm such an old soul. You know what I mean? I love Chuck Berry, you know, Beatles, the Stones, you know, all the 60s bands that became bigger bands in the 70s. Led Zeppelin brought me to play my guitar when I first had heard them, you know.
Whatever the situation calls for, I can go with it.
That's how I am.
You know, I can jump right in.
Absolutely.
I'm all in.
Absolutely.
Well, hey, listen, man.
Hey, my brother.
It's been great talking to you. I'm glad I got to meet you. I've seen you down here hanging out a little bit at night, looking around, checking it all out.
Absolutely.
Now I know a little bit about your story. Hope everybody enjoys the episode and subscribes.
I appreciate your time. Everybody, if you get a chance, come sit with Kid.
So listen.
Don't forget, King Puro eventually going to put out an album real soon, 2025.
You know, and you better come back before then, and when you do put it out, and let us know the progress of it. We want to keep up with it.
When I get a date for the release of my album, I'll come here first.
You heard it. I'm going to hold you to that shit right there.
Appreciated it. You guys take care,
we're going to put it
brother.
on there. Hey, I'm not letting you off that easy. I got one more question for you, because this is the #1 pizza shop show on the internet. Right, Tim?
Yeah,
that's what I'm told.
absolutely.
So I got one pizza question I got to ask you. If you were a pizza, what kind of pizza would you be?
I get the same one every time I come here, brother. All right? It's an extra cheese with sausage. Every time.
You don't get onion on yours? You're just extra cheese and sausage?
No, I'm a vampire. I can't.
Okay. I knew you got sausage, extra cheese. I just wasn't sure if that was it. But hey, he's true to that. He gets that every damn time.
I'm true to that,
Yeah, you
brother.
do.
Every
All
time
right.
I come here. And actually, as a matter of fact, the only pizza place I come to eat pizza is here.
Well,
so you got it,
I heard
brother.
that.
Hey, sit with Kid one time, guys.
On behalf of the staff here at Angelina's, my production crew, Tim, Jade, and Randy, thank you to my guests.
Take care, guys. God
Everybody
bless.
have a great
Thank you for your
night.
time.
Bye.